Imagine a race 18 times longer than a Formula One Grand Prix. Picture the Indy 500 becoming the Indy 3000. Now, think about speeding over 200 miles per hour non-stop for 24 hours straight. This legendary race has a history spanning over a century, marked by both triumph and tragedy. But what makes it so famous? How did it start? Why is it feared by many? And what makes it one of the three jewels of motorsport's Triple Crown? Today, we're diving into the world's most famous and daring one-day race, the French competition that evolved into the ultimate test for the fastest cars known to mankind. The greatest endurance race where a driver's resilience and an engineer's brilliance are pushed to their limits. In the early 1900s, long races crisscrossing Europe showcased the cutting edge of automotive technology. However, these races mostly focused on speed. The goal was to build the fastest car possible and hope to win. But in 1923, a French automobile club known as ECO decided to do something different. They wanted to create a challenge that would push both the vehicle and the driver beyond conventional limits, beyond just pure speed. This ambitious idea was set to unfold in the picturesque town of Le Mans. Although it wasn't the inaugural 24-hour race, Le Mans stood out thanks to the Circuit de la Sarthe. In its original form, the circuit stretched about 10.7 miles, incorporating public roads and dedicated racetrack sections. It was a mix of dangerous scenery and challenges. Instead of covering a specific distance or number of laps, the winner would be whoever covered the greatest distance within 24 hours. The inaugural race in 1923 featured 33 contestants who gathered to compete in this new challenge. These brave drivers represented teams of manufacturers from the era, emphasizing the race essence as a battle of teams. The cars were categorized based on engine size, small, medium, large, and very large engines. The largest engine on the list was the Excelsior Inline 6, 5.3 liters, a sports car manufactured in Belgium. These cars were not just robust and muscular. They were pioneers in incorporating anti-roll bars in their designs because Le Mans was focused on fostering innovation. The starting process was another distinctive challenge. Not a common start with drivers seated in their cars, waiting for the green light. Instead, drivers began running from outside their cars, positioned on the opposite side of the track. When the time came, they had to sprint to their cars, jump in, fasten whatever rudimentary seatbelts existed, start the engine, and take off, while their competitors did the same. It was chaos. It was an epic way to add drama and excitement right from the start, and became a unique feature of the 24 hours of Le Mans. These 33 drivers embarked on an arduous journey, and after completing a full day of racing, the winners emerged, André Lagache and René Léonard. They covered 128 laps in their Chenard Sport, totaling over 1,367 miles. The race proved to be an absolute triumph, and word spread across Europe that a new standard of automotive endurance had been set. It was known as Le Mans. After this inaugural race, the event embarked on a historic sequence of successes. Within a few years, it seemed that every driver and manufacturer in the world had heard of Le Mans and wanted to compete there. However, in these early years, no one gained more notoriety than the Bentley boys. These were essentially a group of wealthy British enthusiasts who raced their Bentleys everywhere and anywhere in the 1920s. One of these Bentley boys, Joel Wolf Barnato, was so wealthy that he eventually bought the brand. What's more surprising is that they had the speed to match their wealth. Yes, they were fast. The group continued to win 4 consecutive victories at Le Mans from 1927 to 1930, engaging in an iconic rivalry with Bugatti. Amid this fierce competition, the 24 hours of Le Mans was rapidly ascending to become the new pinnacle of motorsport. All manufacturers were tirelessly seeking ways to achieve higher top speeds on the Mulsanne Straight. Alfa Romeo and Bugatti were pioneers in designing cars considering wind speed and aerodynamics. And that was just the beginning of innovation at Le Mans. Well, at least that was the initial plan. In 1936, the race was cancelled due to strikes in France. Then, in 1939, the event went on a decade-long hiatus due to World War II. But all this only made the return in 1949 even more triumphant. Even the President of France attended, along with 180,000 other spectators. What no one knew was that on that day, they were witnessing the birth of a legend at Le Mans. Ferrari. Because 1949 was the year the prancing horse, Ferrari, came to life. In its first race at Le Mans, Ferrari won first place in its class, and that victory was just one of many. The iconic red cars from Maranello were dominating tracks around the world. Winning at Le Mans was the ultimate test in motorsport at the time. Your car had to endure tirelessly for 24 hours, withstanding relentless wear and tear. Your drivers had to maintain unwavering focus day and night, and the car had to endure a marathon, and the driver had to trust the machine. The circuit itself was an extremely challenging test. Since the first race, the ACO had already made significant alterations to the track. They had paved some of the most hazardous parts of the road, reconfiguring the overall layout to bypass the town instead of cutting through it, and redirecting certain sections away from residential areas. They also widened the roads to create a bit more space, believing they had done enough to make this race as safe as possible. However, what the ACO, along with the rest of the world, didn't anticipate was the 1955 race was set to be another historic event, with 87 cars registered for the racing. Of the 70 that participated in practice, 60 qualified for race day. Mercedes-Benz, fresh off their dominance in F1, was now seeking victory in another category. They chose the 300 SLR model to face Ferrari, the brand new Jaguar D-Type racers, the Maserati 300s, and the Aston Martin DB3s, and of course, Porsche. This edition of Le Mans had all the ingredients for an epic race, but for all the wrong reasons. Just 2.5 hours after the race started, Mike Hawthorne in his Jaguar was leading, followed by Lance Macklin in his Austin Healey, and Pierre Levesque in his Mercedes. Hawthorne cut across the track for a last-minute pit stop. Macklin tried to avoid hitting Hawthorne, veered off the track to the right, and then swung back onto the track, ending up right in front of Pierre Levesque's Mercedes. Levesque's front right wheel collided with the rear of Macklin's car at 120 mph. Macklin's car acted like a ramp, launching Levesque's car into the air and over the barriers. Levesque was ejected from the car and died on impact. However, his Mercedes crashed directly into the crowd, cartwheeling for over 260 feet. The scene was described in grim detail by numerous witnesses. Fragments of the car were flung, slicing through the crowd and hitting others. Over 80 people lost their lives, and many more were injured. And perhaps the most incredible part of it all, as you can see, the race continued. Mercedes was devastated and expressed their inability to continue. Moreover, the image of a German team ignoring a French catastrophe would have been a PR nightmare for the brand worldwide. As a result, Mercedes withdrew from the race in the middle of the night when the crowd had thinned out. Mercedes also approached Jaguar to withdraw from the race since Hawthorne's pit stop had triggered Macklin's maneuver. However, Jaguar team leader Lofty England refused to accept this outcome. In a strange turn of events, Hawthorne and his Jaguar ultimately secured the victory. As you can imagine, blame was placed on everyone after the race. The ACO had created unsafe racing conditions. There wasn't even a designated deceleration lane before entering the pits. Or was it Hawthorne's and Jaguar's fault for their late pit stop? Or did Macklin simply lose control while swerving across the track to avoid Hawthorne? Moreover, because the race wasn't stopped, the ACO argued that halting the race would have clogged the entrance roads for emergency vehicles. However, there were presumably private roads and entry points onto the track. Regardless, what happened was lamentable. The ACO's investigation absolved any individual of blame. It was deemed just a racing incident, the worst racing incident in history. Oh, and there's a detail. Mercedes completely withdrew from racing worldwide. It would take them over 30 years to return to racing. The ACO spent the following months taking every possible measure to prevent a similar incident from happening again. The stands were demolished and relocated, more barriers were installed, safer pit rules were implemented, and so on. However, the damage from the 1955 race left a mark. Many groups called for a complete ban on car racing. Switzerland, for example, banned road racing events after 1955, a ban that lasted 67 years until 2022. By 1960, the race gradually began to regain its former glory, thanks to Ford versus Ferrari. Ford, with its thriving passenger car business in the 1950s, was missing one crucial element: a sports car. So, Henry Ford II tried to buy Ferrari, but negotiations fell apart. This led to Ford developing the GT40, and the rest is history. The GT40s dominated Le Mans in the late 60s, securing multiple victories and cementing their legacy. After this period, it was Porsche's time to shine, with their iconic 917 and later the 962, marking an era of innovation and supremacy at Le Mans. Fast forward to the modern era, and Le Mans has continued to evolve. The introduction of hybrid technology brought a new dimension to the race, with fierce competition between manufacturers like Audi, Porsche, and Toyota. The 2016 race was particularly dramatic, with Toyota heartbreakingly losing the lead in the final moments due to mechanical failure, handing victory to Porsche. In recent years, Toyota has finally claimed its place at the top, securing multiple victories with its TS50 hybrid. The race remains a pinnacle of automotive endurance, attracting the best of the best from around the world. And the story of Le Mans is far from over. With new manufacturers like Ferrari re-entering the fray and the constant push for technological advancement, the 24 Hours of Le Mans continues to captivate and challenge the automotive world. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this dive into the history of Le Mans, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more thrilling automotive stories. Let me know in the comments below which part of Le Mans history fascinates you the most. See you in the next video!